Nolan, how are you, buddy?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Pretty good. Can you hear me okay? You can hear me good?
Yeah, you could hear me, see me, all that good
Yeah, I can
stuff.
see you. You look handsome as ever, buddy. Got all
Appreciate
like that nice edge. There's the Hall of Fame in the background there.
Yeah, we got like all of the jerseys of the guys.
Wow. Holy smokes.
Gonna have to make some space in the next couple of years here.
That's incredible, man. That's
Yeah.
a win, eh? See Parker Fleming back there.
Yeah.
Good respect here, all the boys.
We had a lot last year. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We had 19 last year, but that's with the girls as well.
It's incredible.
Still a lot. Yeah. It's a lot.
No kidding. So I just want to start off. I really appreciate you coming on the Maple Minute, man. I'm just going to record this meeting so then I can cut it up later into a podcast. But it means a lot having a coach like yourself on the podcast. It really validates the brand. So thank you for coming on, Nolan. It means a lot to me, man.
For sure. I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate how much you do for the kids and the game out in Canada. Like, I know you do it ego-free, and a lot of stuff you don't get compensated for the work that you're doing. And I know that, and like it's beyond appreciated. So it's awesome.
I appreciate it, man. So tell me about this weekend. So you were down there. So you're the associate head coach of Edge Prep School, and you know that obviously. But for people listening, it's a big time program in Western Canada, very established. They got the big E on their logo. Like it's a great brand, great school. As Nolan said at the start of the podcast, 19 graduates went on to play post-secondary basketball last year. So it's a hell of a program. You guys were down in a very prestigious league, the EIBC. Could you speak on that a little bit on how you guys got in and what's going on?
Yeah, for sure. So I know it was a kind of big conversation amongst us this year, how to make the most out of our trips this year. And the great thing about the EIBC is we get 4 games a weekend that we go. So that's huge. Because a lot of times last year we were heading out to what we played in before, and it was 2 games per weekend a lot of times. So to leave from Calgary, get on a plane somewhere, spend thousands and thousands of dollars to play 2 games is a bit tough for us. So it's great to have an opportunity to get 4 games, 4 full game footage, play in front of some coaches, but also have some really good positions. Obviously great for us. The league's pretty stacked up. I mean, like you got Hillcrest, you got ABC, you got Canyon International, you got Utah Prep, you got Colorado Prep, Phoenix Prep. There's some really good teams. You got some good Canadian teams coming up too. Jay Addison was down there. I think there's a couple more. So definitely a good league, good start for us. We had a pretty tough schedule. Our first 2 games were Canyon and ABC. Our 3rd game was Premier Prep out of Tucson there. And then 4th game was just against ABC's 2nd team. So that one was a bit of a tough one. We actually didn't even get to finish the game. They ended it early in the 4th, just tapped out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but great weekend for us. We started really strong. First game, obviously a lot of talent on the Canyon side with Joven and Jalik, and they're pretty stacked up across the board. And we knew it was going to be a battle going into it. They definitely underestimated us. We could tell off of how they were warming up and kind of how their coaches were behaving before the game. So we knew we had to throw the first punch, and we definitely did. We got up 20-6 to start the game, and we held the lead the entire time and finished it out. That league's interesting because they do that ULAM ending for each game.
I like that. How do you feel about that?
I like it. It definitely brings a different dynamic because you can't waste the time, right? You can't run the clock out. And so they did it where with 3 minutes left in the game, whoever was up, the target score was 7 points from that. So that game, for example, I think we were up 81-65, and they went on a big run quickly. They pressed us, got a couple stops, a couple buckets. But man, we had the ultimate closer all weekend, man. Our point guard Jojo, he had 3 game winners in 3 games in a row. Two big, like a big 3 to end the Canyon game, a big coast to coast to end the ABC, and then he had a nice bucket to end the Premier game. So 3 games in a row he had game winners. So makes it a little exciting. Kind of ends on a high point every time. So I like it.
Yeah, for sure. And what's JoJo's last name, just for everybody listening?
Jojo Muyo. So Muyo.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
You had a lot of other standouts as well. I saw the EIBC does good coverage on Twitter as well, which is always really helpful because coaches live on that app. So it's good to see that. I saw that you guys had a lot of standouts. You had Jojo won MVP, if I'm correct, the tournament, and you were coach of the session as well. What an honor, man! That's incredible.
Yeah, no, it was great. Like the guys, they came to play, and I would say the award for myself is more the work that went into the tournament beforehand, not what happens in the games. I mean, we go hard at practice and we grind it out and spend a lot of time with these kids. And if it's not just in practice, a lot of the kids come in at 7 in the morning and work out before practice. Then we have 1 to 2 practices a day. A lot of the kids like JoJo, Zach, these guys, they work out through the day. So, I mean, I spend a lot of time with those kids, and it's great that, our director, Eddie Richardson, he trusts us and he trusts his staff, and, he's given us the tools to be successful, and, it was a team effort across the board. But like you said, we had 5 guys average double digits, 5 guys over 12 points a game, actually. You got JoJo, Cole Beckering, Shem Sowery, and Zach Winks. So we had 5 players average over 12 points a game. So just that alone shows that we're a very different team than last year, as far as we're a little bit deeper, a little bit more across the board dynamic. We had some great guys last year, but I know we did lean on Boo Boo a lot, Boo Boo Benjamin, to get a lot of our stuff done. And we don't have a guy this year that's just give him the ball, he's going to get us 30 a game. We have a bunch of guys that could go have big games, and we kind of proved that this weekend. So it's good to see a team effort. All 10 guys contributed that we brought. We brought some young boys with us, Patrick and Birch, which are both 2026 guys that play on our varsity team. Mm-hmm. Both those guys had huge minutes. Patrick's a Team Canada starter for U16, and Birch is right there on that list as well. So young boys showed out, the prep guys showed out. It was definitely a team effort for sure.
That's incredible. So I was actually in Fort Erie this weekend watching a couple games for the grind session event there. A lot of just speaking on the point you just said, how you don't really have one guy that's like a closer, like a go-to guy, like a Boo Boo Benjamin, who's at Tarleton State now. Again, incredible talent. He had a lot of good players last year too, like a ton of talent last year. But in the gym, there's a lot of murmurs, like with some teams, like people were talking, like who's the closer on this team, or who's going to be the go-to guy on this team, or who's going to really when you need a buck at the last minute, who's it going to go to? You think you're going to have a problem with that at all, Edge, or you guys just be some team dominant that you'll be ahead enough? But obviously there's going to be situations, like you said, like JoJo showed up, stepped up to the plate, 3-game winner. So it's kind of looking like it's him, but do guys have a problem sharing the ball like that? No,
I think that's it. It's definitely something special with this group, but I do think JoJo's kind of emerged as our guy that, we look to him when the going gets tough, when the going's going well. We kind of look to him at okay, what can you get us in? He's a true point guard. He's a true floor general. He got to play behind Xavier Spencer for 2 years, and he learned so much being able to battle with him every day in practice. And Xavier's at Carleton now, starting his freshman year, and he's having a big impact there. So just for him to learn from him, and Xavier was a big-time coach on the floor and floor general, and that was one thing JoJo kind of struggled with going into this year. He was a bit of a quieter point guard, which is just today's day and age. You find that a lot more, just guards that are a little bit quieter with their voice. He's really emerged vocally this last few weeks, and he's definitely, I would say, our closer. But then, I mean, we got so many shot makers. Like Kai Gibbons hit 18 threes in 4 games. He hit 13 the last 2 games. He hit 7 against ABC Black and 6 against Premier. And then you got Zach Wink, who any night could hit 5-6 threes. Yeah. And then our best player, honestly, on our team didn't have his best weekend is Shem Sowery. And he's the one that's getting the most love south of the border right now. And he's 6'7" forward to play the 4, give minutes at the 3, give minutes at the 5. And, I mean, he had some tough matchups this weekend. He was battling with Joven. He was battling with Jalik. He was each game kind of taking on their best player on the wing forward side. And he still averaged 15 and 10. He was foul trouble a couple of the games and stuff. But, I mean, we start games going through him typically, working inside and out. And, I mean, he has a great mid-range game. And even though JoJo finished a lot of our games with game winners, Shem came in and typically had 4 to 6 points in that ELAM ending almost on a nightly basis. And with his energy, his motor, he just doesn't get tired. So he just plays 40 minutes straight. And when guys are starting to get a little gas at the end and mentally getting a little fatigued, his motor kind of holds him through. So I mean, like you said, it's still kind of early. We don't know exactly how it's going to be, but team effort, and JoJo's definitely showed that clutch gene early on. So hopefully we can ride that out.
Yeah, that's awesome. So next question, away from the EIBC, like, can you kind of just walk us through a day for one of these student athletes at Edge, like what your school day looks like, a regular school day?
Yeah, so for the prep guys, you know, a lot of them are taking classes if they're just upgrading, or if they're trying to just, you know, pick whatever their lowest grade was, they might just redo that class. Some of our guys, like a Zach Wink, who are 4.0 students, don't have any school at all right now. So I typically get to the school about 7:20. Work guys out until about 8:15. Our high school guys typically practice 8 to 10. Our prep guys are rather 10 to 12 or 12 to 2. And then different gaps throughout the day. I'll work guys out. Guys will get on the shooting machine. Guys will get in the weight room. It's honestly, it's Disneyland for a basketball player. Like you have all the resources to be successful. If it's to be, it's up to me though. You could have 2 different experiences at the school and, you know, be doing the same thing each day. It just depends if you make the most out of it. Obviously we have a phenomenal high school varsity team this year who, you know, in the NPA, they beat RNS, they beat CSJV, and they've had some big games already as a high school team. They competed with Fort Erie. We're down 7 points with 7 minutes left against their national team. So our high school guys are really special, and they have a great coach, Coach Jordan White, who he was Team Canada guy, 3-on-3, played at UBC for 5 years, was all Canadian, that coaches that team. So our staff is, you know, really great. We have David Kapinga as well working with us, which, you know, I work with, and he was a national champion MVP at UFC, played Team Canada, played pro overseas. And, you know, obviously Eddie Richardson, his resume speaks for itself. So we have a great staff and great support for these kids. And like I said, they have all the resources to be successful. Typically practice in the morning and then after school, and then they fit their classes in between through the day. But I mean, Edge is a fully function, like it's a brick and mortar school. So nothing's online, everything's in class at school. Great support system with the teachers and the trainers and all the aides that we have here. So it's definitely a good situation for a student.
Oh yeah, no, this sounds incredible, and it definitely lives up to the reputation that it has. Like, you can see the wall behind you, how many players you put post-secondary, and it just always, if Edge is coming to town, you got to make your way out to the gym, especially when I'm living in Ontario. If Edge is around you, I got to make my way out there to see those guys. So, and it's good that you guys are getting to see, you said it's RNS already beat them. That's a out east team, and you got a Quebec team already, and you're down in the States playing all kinds of teams. So you guys are really getting around, which is great. And I see you're very busy on your Instagram there. Got a great following, and I see. I want to ask some more about like Bloodline Sports Management. What is that about?
So I started a sports management company about 2.5 years ago, and honestly, what it came down to was we have a very successful training company based originally out of California, where I grew up, but back home now in Calgary, and we had so many players that we were start to finish model with, rather 6th to 7th grade, we're starting them, seeing them through their scholarship and training them in the off season. But when they finished, you know, we would get so many questions about that pro process and how that worked. And we obviously do have quite a few pros that we train. So the more our network started growing and kind of getting a little bit more connected in that world, I figured that, you know, there's certain players that I could help, and I knew that. And it's a boutique agency in the sense that, like, I'm representing 13 guys. Out of the 13, 8 of them I know personally quite well. Rather, I played with them, trained them, or have some sort of close relationship. I would say the other 3 to 5 are rather connected to those players, or I have a trainer and coach that I respect and take their word. Because I'm not really trying to be in the business of representing a bunch of players that I don't know, because it gets a slippery slope. Somebody goes to a job, doesn't perform, doesn't act properly off the court, and can ruin relationships. And it's a passion project. Like, it's not a get rich quick scheme, but I mean, I definitely have some high level guys that I represent. If that's 7th Woods or Julian Washburn, we got some guys in some places. So right now we got guys in Portugal, Ireland, Argentina, Mexico, Spain, Germany, Australia, Azerbaijan. So definitely all over the world. So that's going to grow over the years, but yeah, definitely a cool thing that I got going on.
That's phenomenal. So you train with your dad too? Is that training kind of thing, or how'd you?
So he's been training players for I want to say 20 some years. When I moved to California, he was full time doing that. He had the biggest training business in Southern California at the time. Trained over 250 players out there. So he was 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock every day training players. So I kind of grew up in that world a little bit, and got some early experience as a kid, like working in the summers. Like that's how I made my money. I'd run camps, run sessions, and do stuff with him. And then as my career started kind of winding down, my senior year, it was during the COVID year. I was making some decisions on what I was doing. I was rehabbing from 2 torn meniscuses at the time, and started to fall more and more in love with the player development side of things, and kind of jumped all in with it, and had great success. Been able to travel around the world. Spent 2.5 weeks in Japan this summer with Phil Handy, working with him. Got to go to Denmark recently, going to Sweden next year, going to China, Korea. So been able to see the world through basketball, which it's another thing I love to preach, that you don't necessarily have to be a professional player, don't necessarily have to be on the court to make a living through basketball and to experience great things and to meet great people. If you give a lot to this game, it could give you a lot back, and that doesn't necessarily mean just on the court.
Yeah, no, 100%. And just another thing on your profile there, I saw, just sorry for all the questions, but it's like Deuce Brand. What's that about? I saw Kyrie Irving wearing that. Lots of
So we've been working with them for roughly 7 or 8 years, but the last 4 or 5, pretty seriously. So my pops, he is in charge of all of the retail collaborations and the international relationships through the brand. So, for example, they're in Sport Check in Canada. That's my dad was the one who brokered that deal.
Wow.
They're Foot Locker now in the States. They're going to be soon into a couple other retailers here in Canada. So, they support us. We help run these elite camps through their brand. So they target markets that they want to be able to kind of infiltrate, and we go and we run these camps with other trainers or coaches in the area that support the brand. So, for example, last weekend we were in Norman, Oklahoma, like where University of Oklahoma is. Ran a camp out there with some people that support the brand, where players get the gear, get to talk about the gear, kind of set the seed, and we run high-level elite camps in those cities. So been able to do that kind of through Seattle, Texas, California. When we were in Denmark, that was through the brand as well. So we work closely. They support us. We support them. And they have quite a big following, like as far as NBA guys that rock the brand, or like we have a couple of sub brands within, like Be Your Own Goat is Phil Handy's brand that's in Deuce Brand. Kyrie Irving has Kai Bands, which is in Deuce Brand. So it's a great experience and great opportunity for me to meet a lot of people and work apparel side and kind of tie that into our training. So it's like a perfect marriage at the end of the day.
That's awesome. So just kind of wrapping up, where can coaches come see your guys this year? So you're going to be in the EIBC, the NPA. What else can they come see you at?
So coming up here, we have our own prep kind of league out here that we run, CJBL, with teams from BC, Saskatchewan, and here. So we got a couple more sessions of that. Obviously, EIBC, like you mentioned. Our boys will be in Windsor at the Windsor tournament. I'll take 10 prep guys to that. So that's December.
Chris Chang?
Yeah. So that's we had a great time last year at that. Like a lot of youth sports schools that weekend, because it's after games have ended. So that's a great recruiting tool that weekend. We'll be in the Tarkanian Classic, both our national team and our first teams in Vegas. And then, high school boys will be in the NPA all year. We'll be in the EIBC. I think we got a couple other one-offs in the second semester there, but
busy schedule,
busy schedule, and recruiting's picking up for some of the guys quite a bit now. Like obviously, JoJo after this weekend has heard from quite a few schools, especially on the youth sports side, which is great. I think he'll be a great impact at a youth sports school. So he's got a good 6-7 schools he's talking to on the Canadian side. Zach Wink it's picking up for a little bit for him. Like, incredible defender, a guy who could bring a lot of value early on.
Really tough kid too. I saw him.
Really tough kid.
Oh, Neverton.
You saw him. He was playing one leg.
He's playing through injuries. I mean, every day he's like injured and he's playing the next game. I'm like, how are you still going, man? That kid is like
his team. he begged us to come on a trip and play with our second team just to get more running, and like he wasn't even healthy. So him, and then obviously, like I mentioned before, Kai Gibbons. One of our starters didn't come with us to Denver, Burry Marco. But he's hearing from quite a few U Sport schools and some D2s as well. And then you got Shem Sowery, who's hearing from D1, D2, U Sport, kind of all over the place. Our big from Sask, Ryan, has 3-4 U Sport offers already. Then our high school boys, like you got Cole Beckering, who's, man, he's surprised a lot of people. He surprised me because he started shooting the ball like freaking JJ Redick the last few weeks. I don't know where that's come from.
I think he's like a mid-major at worst on a bad day, dude. Like he's got the size already. He's got another 2 years ahead of high school. He's very, very like he's got the marketable look about him. He's isn't his dad isn't his uncle like a famous dunker or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's two uncles or two cousins. So Ross and Henry Beckering were like all-time legends at University of Calgary. Like Henry was Blake Griffin before Blake Griffin type thing. So he has the genes, and I mean he's strong as shit. Yeah. Like he's a strong kid. So to see him shoot the ball how he's been shooting, it's definitely a whole different dimension to his game, because going into the year the thought was like he's very strong going downhill. He could play forward and wing, but now the way he's spacing the floor, I mean, against CIA, he had 5 threes, 4 of them in the first half.
He shot the shit out of it at the Western Canada Classic there. One of Sunny Such hosted with WC.
Yeah.
He was shooting the hell out of it. Stood out right away, and I was like, this kid is big. He's like 6'5". Like this is like a Malcolm Brogdon. Like I don't know. He could go to like he's got the college-ready body as is right now, and only with developing under you guys, it's just like holy smoke. Like he stood out in nationals as well. Provincials or whatever it was at BC, but he's been on my radar for a while, and seeing him like with you guys is spectacular.
I think the special thing about him is the fact that like we just got him. Like he's still a blank slate in a lot of ways. Like he's obviously like he's been working on his game, but he's still pretty unpolished. So the amount of work in these next 2 years, and like you said, like I think mid-major, he's been hearing, he's talking to some schools, Montana State, Buffalo, I think Colorado. Like he's heard from a decent amount of schools already, and I'm constantly bringing him up to coaches as well. He's such a no-brainer. You know, he's flirting with the idea of coming out this year, but he, I think him locking in for this year and next year will be really good for him. I think that if that group stays together, that high school varsity group, for one more year where they're all prep next year, or most of them, I think they can make a lot of noise. And I mean, they already are as high school kids, so it's definitely a fun group to be around. It's good kids. For sure. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Nolan. If you have any closing thoughts, anything you wanted to shout out, anything you wanted to do that you've got going on, but we covered most of it, I think. But if you have anything you wanted to say before we wrap up. No, honestly, appreciate you taking your time. And yeah, I'm excited to see how the rest of the year goes. Canada's, like you're saying, recruit Canada, man. There's so many good players here right now and so many good teams, and all over the country too, not just in Toronto. Like it's 100%. It's growing, and it's great to see. And yeah. And on that point, sorry, but the brand of basketball that you guys play, like I've always said, like the brand of basketball in Toronto compared to even the brand of basketball in a Kitchener, Guelph, or in a London is night and day difference. And then coming out west, you just see how different the climate of basketball is, and it's just you guys play with a different chip on your shoulder, and you have the kids from out west that come to the Canada, and they don't care. Oh, you're ranked in Ontario here, or when they know your name in Ontario, they don't know you out west, so they don't give a shit about you here. So like really have a real edge to their game. So like no pun intended, but I mean I really appreciate you taking the time, Nolan. So thank you very much, and I'll get this podcast out very soon and cut it up into some reels and stuff like that. We got some good content here, I think. Awesome. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate it, man. Good luck this week. Take care, man. Thanks. See ya.